Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Going Dark podcast, episode number 19. And today, Chop, we finally have something new to talk about, man. Finally. Finally. No more MW3. We're never talking about that game or any Modern Warfare for a good while, I think.
It's going to be a bit for sure. I mean, maybe we'll touch on it in season 6. I'll just be curious to see what they're doing. I mean, there's no zombies content, but what does have zombies content is the game that we just played. And
Really?
I, I'm going to be honest, lads. Like, we would have had a podcast out way sooner, but I'm not even going to get into the whole situation. But I had probably the biggest nightmare travel day of my life, which delayed us for a couple of days. Sometimes
go into it for the people. Just a little brief. Give us a brief taste of it.
I'll just give you a very, very quick TLDR for y'all. So we're obviously me and Tdawg were both at COD Next, and the day that we were leaving, we had a problem on our airline where they put us on the plane, they took us off the plane, and essentially I saw the writing on the wall. Our plane was going to get canceled, and I knew it. And so I'm like, I booked a car, and I'm glad I did because all the cars booked, very shortly after I got mine. But the craziest part was because I was one of the early people to get a car. There were people like trying to get in my car and being like, yo, man, I need a ride here. Like, can you take me here? Because everybody was scrambling to like get home now that, so many, because like every flight in the DC airport got canceled pretty much. So this whole wave of people are like trying to figure out like rides and how to get around. So I managed to scrape up a car, but dude, it was literally like a zombie apocalypse. Like people trying to get in my vehicle and stuff, or just like bum rides off me. And I'm like, bro, relax. Like it turned like I had to hide out at one point in the different garage.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was more insane than I can describe, but I'm glad I made it home. But basically, like, we wanted to have this podcast out way sooner, but it was a bit of a nightmare. So I'm just glad to be here finally, and it maybe gave me a couple more days to marinate and sit on my thoughts a little bit.
Good.
Could be good. Yeah, I think so too. So, but yeah, I mean, before this podcast right now, we participated at COD Next, meaning we've played pretty much, I don't know, just about everything on Black Ops 6 at this point. The only thing we haven't really touched is campaign, but we want to talk about like at this point, I think it's a good idea for us to talk about like the really good stuff about Black Ops 6. We'll probably call this like the good, bad, and the ugly. Like just a whole overview of what this is now that we've played all of it, and I think we have the best perspective and representation of what's up.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Number one, I just need to go back real quick. I live about an hour and a half from DC, guys, and I feel so bad. I was watching Twitter all day from all these people, all these creators struggling. And I think the year MW2 or MW3 next, I had a delay. So I just know the pain of trying to get home with a delay. I'm not going to lie. I got home in an hour in the car. It was literally the best case scenario for me, and I felt so bad seeing all those people get I think some guy got home like yesterday. And COD Next was last Wednesday. So
there for like almost like a week.
Oh my gosh. And then just not being in your own like area, you can't record. Like I felt terrible for those people. But yeah, I think let's just talk about the whole scope. We were thinking about just talking about the beta, but like you said, we've kind of played a lot of it. We'll just hit it in increments of multiplayer, zombies, and Warzone. We'll touch on that probably at the end. But multiplayer, Chop, you start us off, because I'm just gonna say, in the beginning, I was a little like, not oh no, but I was like, oh boy, like maybe this is not gonna be good. And then I think my opinion has gone like from we're in trouble to like this could be our year. Like that's how drastic the difference was in me playing.
Do you mean in terms of like Omni movement or like the whole game?
The movement for me felt very, I don't want to say clunky, but it felt very, you were sitting, so Chopper was sitting next to me, guys, at our little stations. And I look over at him and I'm like, this feels like Cold War. And to me, I was like C tier for Cold War, maybe like low B, like very low B. So I was kind of like, oh boy, are we going to have a Cold War feeling game for an entire year? But once you started getting the sliding mechanics, the diving backwards, the diving sideways, I'm like, holy crap, this is so much fun. To like, it's something to learn how to get better at. And again, a term that I use a lot is a skill gap. And it just, I have fallen in love with the movement, and I was worried about this. I was worried about going and playing this game and then not being able to like play the old CODs because I'm like, man, this feels archaic, or what's the word I'm
Yeah, yeah.
that's the word I'm
Yeah,
looking for.
archaic, ancient.
Archaic.
Mhm.
And you know, you don't run. I thought running backwards would kind of get me like, oh wow, I'm never gonna be able to play Call of Duty again. But I feel like running backwards and diving backwards, I still haven't really done that much. It's more the side dives and the forward dives
Mhm.
that I think I've kind of really gotten after. So it doesn't really affect you if you want to go back to old CODs. Just a side note for anybody, it doesn't feel like crazy weird to go back on Black Ops 2 or go back in Black Ops 4. So I will say that. Don't like worry that you're gonna hate old games again because of the movement. Not that you
Mhm.
some people probably play the beta, but my opinion.
Yeah. I think the way that I look at it is it seems like to me the reaction when the Black Ops 3 beta was out. And the only reason I say that is because like when we have the temptation to call it clunky, when I think like we need a little time to grow into this new thing because like we have to you and I as far as like gaming and Call of Duty is concerned right now, like we're old heads at this point.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
the God bless the people picking up Black Ops 6 as their first Call of Duty because like they're
Sheesh.
going to be able to program their brain on Omni movement
Yeah.
when we have to retroactively learn this new thing. Not that that's bad in any way, but it's going to take us a little longer to like, unlearn some of the things that we've the fundamentals of like FPS games and
Yeah.
movement and all that.
Yeah.
And Black Ops 3 I think did a similar thing. Obviously they had backtracked on that and we did end up going back to boots on the ground, but I still think that applies. As far as Omni movement goes, I've been playing the beta like all day today and a little bit yesterday. I am growing to really love it. Um, to be honest, like again, it's one of those things where it's scary. It feels very scary and foreign at first. Like, no, this isn't Call of Duty. This, you get this knee jerk reaction to kind of hate it. But the more I'm playing with it, and the thing is for me as well, like, I'm very big into movement. I think I could literally write a whole essay about more so in zombies, but why like Black Ops 3's zombies movement was like perfect. It was a
Hmm.
perfect system.
Yeah.
And I see the same kinds of things going on with BO6. It makes me excited for the potential of what I can do with it in zombies. That's where I'm going to try to use it to its fullest capacity. But just as far as like the multiplayer has been concerned right now, I have been really liking Omni movement. I feel like it's
Yeah.
not taken me that long to kind of pick up and get used to, and I feel like I'm very much flowing with it. At this point, I don't think we ever go back to non-Omni movement,
No, I
or
don't I don't
not that not that
I
you can't play older CODs and enjoy them, but I don't think I want to go back at this point to linear movement now that I've experienced like because it changes the game fundamentally, but it also doesn't. Um,
yes.
and
It,
I
it
don't know, I can't pinpoint why that is, but like it's not the equivalent to jetpacks and wall running, but it does make you relearn the game in some way, which to me
that's
has
what I
been
like
really
about it.
refreshing. Yeah.
That's just like you said with Ops 3. It feels like it's the first Call of Duty that I've had to learn in a long time. And I think
Yeah.
that's what's making it so unique and different for me. Because, like, okay, realistically, what would you say? Maybe MW19 was the last one that we really had to learn. And I know you didn't play that one a ton, did you? I mean, because there wasn't
Not
really
not at
zombies.
launch.
Um, because that was kind of a new movement system and stuff like that. But like Cold War wasn't crazy. MW2, there was no movement to learn. Vanguard was kind of piggybacking off MW19, so it felt kind of similar. MW3 was piggybacking off MW2, just added slide canceling. So
Sure.
like it's been probably 5 years since we've had to learn a new mechanic. And before that, it was probably Ops 3. So it was like
Yeah.
that was 5 years prior or 4 years prior. It almost feels like every 4 to 5 years we get this banger COD that like
Mhm. That kind of
everybody enjoys or most people enjoy. The content bangs and like it's
it just reshapes the
widely
game a little bit. I think it's refreshing.
yeah.
To me, that's the big part about Omni movement is like not even getting to the mechanics of it, but just I think it's a refreshing skill to learn
Yeah.
because I feel like and I don't and I'm guilty of this too. I think we all are. I think we want a Call of Duty game to come out and we want to immediately already like know everything about it. We
Yeah.
playing Call of Duty for years, like, I'm sure us and a lot of viewers watching, a new Call of Duty game comes out, and we almost look at it as kind of like a right that the game should be what we know, and we should just be able to immediately be like great at it. When I
How
think in
quickly can we
BO6,
learn everything about the game?
yeah, but I think it's like we expect a Call of Duty game to come out, and we want to immediately feel like we've mastered it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I don't. And again, I'm not saying this is just about everybody. I'm present company included. I think we can be initially very averse to a game that challenges our already ingrained structures of playing. Like this is force us to relearn the fundamentals of Call of Duty. You kind of
Yeah.
feel like a baby deer again for a little bit. And that we haven't, a lot of us haven't felt like that since like COD 4 or MW2. You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, Black Ops 3 probably. Black Ops 3 was the last time I kind of felt like that because of that was a drastic change. I mean, AW was a drastic change, but
Sure.
I feel like BO3 had the wall running mechanic. It had a lot of things that made it kind of, I don't know. It was easy to pick. It was a jetpack game, but it was easy to pick up on. I just remember all my friends playing that game. They hated Advanced Warfare. They quit after 2-3 months. But BO3, they stayed the entire year because it was not as crazy. And Omni Movement feels like it's this nice change to Call of Duty. It's going to give the people that want that skill gap and that craziness, they can do it. But I also feel like you don't have to do it. Like I watch a lot of these pros and they're guns up. Like not diving a lot. They're not sprinting around. They're not. It's like a slide every once in a while. Gun up, and that's kind of how you could play Black Ops 3. You didn't have to wall run and bounce around, and you could kind of play like a normal COD. So I think that's the balance of being able to learn something new for the players that want to get better at something, and then the existing players that don't really want to do anything
you can
crazy.
play Call of Duty just like
Call of Duty.
a corner the whole time, just like you did in COD 4. You can do that. I'm not going to recommend it all the time, but I mean, if that's I think Treyarch's always been good about catering to almost every play style, and not in like the cringe way where I think people criticize like Modern Warfare 2019. I mean, the developers were like, "Yo, we're literally making like safe spaces and making it easy for people to camp all and stuff."
Yeah,
and that's not what I'm talking about. Like, I think what I mean is like every method of play has its particular style of play and a counterplay. And I think the maps and guns really, and Treyarch games for the most part tend to support all of those play styles.
I love Treyarch.
I feel the same way about this beta, or about the multiplayer, because it has been a little different playing the beta versus playing at COD Next versus playing at Treyarch. I played it in like 3 different settings, and each one is a little different.
Yeah.
Like I tweeted.
I want to get into that.
Like,
I was gonna say I want to get into your tweet. I'm looking at it right now as and I have a very similar thought, and I have so the tweet goes pretty much, my lobbies are sweatier than they were at COD Next, and I had literal CDL pros. This is a summary of his tweet, and you are definitely right. I don't know what can be done about this. I really don't. I'm convinced that they will probably never fix SBMM or whatever you want to call it. But I know the one thing that I've realized is this year, I don't know about you, but I've been inviting my friends that don't play a lot of COD, but they've been enjoying Black Ops 6. And the lobbies have been fine when it's that type of situation. So it used to be, my friends never really wanted to play with me because the lobbies would get so sweaty. But I will say, once we've been bringing in other people, it feels like it's very classic style COD. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it feels like, this is not in a bragging way because I'm playing people that haven't played Call of Duty in 5 years, but I'm more at the top and they're more at the bottom, but they're like 12-12. So they're not like upset, they're not like 6-30. They're like, okay, I'm never playing with you again, bro. Like, it's kind of this, it's fine. I feel like when you have multiple people in a party that aren't CDL pros, like Nate Shot, Scump, and all them, I'm watching their lobbies and I'm going, holy crap. Could you imagine playing in this? When you have the more casual along with you, it seems to kind of divvy itself properly. Yeah, get your boys back on. Hit him with an invite.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that. So the thing about the tweet that I thought was funny, like obviously I was just tweeting that as kind of a funny thing. I just noticed how like try hard the lobbies were, and the thing that I found really funny was there was a bunch of people like arguing in the replies, going like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's like random people online that are way better than CDL pros. Like you find all these
Oh
online
yeah, yeah.
people, they go like they're way better than CDL pros, all this stuff.
I'm sure
But
they
I'm
are.
like, right, sure. Yeah, I'm sure. But it's like I think there's a big difference between like Wi-Fi warriors and like, you know, like trained CDL pros. Like
Yeah.
trained CDL pros are refined their skill into this one very particular thing, whereas like Wi-Fi warriors are just like going hard and no one's even got the camera on. I'm not really sure why. They're playing like their life is on the line. But also like the other funny thing was, especially today, the only damn thing in my lobbies is the jackal. That's it. There's
The,
one gun. I was gonna say, luckily, we at least know
the
one gun
jackal.
works. Yeah.
But I've seen a tweet and I totally remember the same thing. Every Black Ops beta has had a broken gun. BO3
Yeah.
was the Razorback, BO4 was
Yep.
the MX9, and this one is no different with the Jackal. So
Yeah.
it's just a
It's
Treyarch
fair
thing.
enough.
But they've already said, the Matt guy has already said, the guy said, please nerf. Some random tweet said, like, please nerf. He said, it's highly likely. He's kind of trolling. He's like, highly likely that thing's going to get nerfed.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I could have figured it will too, but I think the beta experience is just funny because it's like you look at the kill feed, just jackal, jackal, jackal,
yeah.
jackal, jackal.
Well, that's when you're not in a sweaty lobby either if they're using other guns. And when you're in a meta lobby, it's over. It's over. You're done. It's never you're never gonna use something different. But I do like the XM4 a lot. I like the XM4 a lot.
Yeah, XM4 is good.
So
I enjoyed the game from the perspective of it's given me something really new to learn. Weirdly enough, I don't know if I love the maps.
really okay.
The more I've been sitting on it, the more I'm not convinced I like some of the maps. They're good, but
They're not something groundbreaking. Like not that we're expecting groundbreaking, but are we gonna remember these maps in 5 years?
I'm just not sure they complement Omni movement the way that they maybe should. They feel like they work better in like I don't know, like Cold War or any other like class, even like Black Ops 4. I feel like they would work in.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure the maps complement Omni movement a ton. There's a lot of. This is gonna sound weird, but this is just my opinion. I think Omni movement would do well with more. I'm not bigger maps, but less angular maps.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of right angles and like vertical rooms and hard corners and things, and I think the Omni movement would work better in a setting where there's a little more room on the ground to breathe and you can maneuver left and right a little more and stuff, because I feel like I'm still just running forward a lot of the time despite being able to move in any direction.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like you don't really use the back at all.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I dive
It's, like,
sideways when I'm just
very
trying to kind of have
occasionally.
fun. Like, okay, let's get a kill. Almost like you're trying to create a cool
When
clip.
you're trying to get Twitter clips.
Yeah, literally. Like I'm getting 1, 2, 3, and then I just dive to the right. And I'm like, if this guy's there, this is gonna be a banger clip. But he's usually not, and I get shot in the back or something. So it's like, all right, well, never mind.
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe some people agree, maybe not, but the maps don't feel like they particularly complement Omni movement that well. Maybe that'll change like, when the full game releases and we get everything else. But the beta maps, they're fine. Minus Scud. I really don't think that's a good map. But they're okay. They're just not like I'm not majorly impressed by any of them yet.
Yeah. Well, so did you say I catch that? You don't like Scud?
No.
Well, I don't know what it is about that map. I love it. What am I missing? I feel like it flows properly. There's a lot of open sight lines, which I like. The only feedback that I've given them, and the devs have DM'd me, and they're like, "What's your feedback on Scud?" Because I said I liked it. I just had a couple changes. Is the satellite itself, like that part where you can head glitch, is a massive advantage on that side, and all you can see is the dude's head. Whereas on the other side, your full body's exposed on like the sandbag area. And I told him it needs to like trim down. So like the guy's half his body is out. And then I also think you should be able to run up the satellite. Have you tried to run up the satellite? You
Like
can't.
run up the front. Yeah.
Yep. So you can run up, surprise them right there, bounce back down. I think after that it would be a
I
little
think that's fair.
saturation would
That's
help
fair.
as well. A little
Mhm.
saturation would help. I don't know what the obsession is with making these dull maps. Like, you
Especially for Treyarch because they're
they're
like
always
traditionally
too.
the
Sometimes they're too
colorful and poppy one.
saturated. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, think of the greatest maps in COD history. They're all saturated beyond belief. I feel like I can't think of one that
They're
is
at least vibrant,
rainy.
you
Yeah,
know.
vibrant. Not like I'm not talking
Like
about.
they're not all rush from BO2, but they're, like raid or like firing range,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. They're all like got a little
They're
bit
all
of
vibrant
red and
enough.
orange or like green. You know what I mean? A little bit of grass. Like, I think
Yeah.
another thing too I'll say is the one I can't remember the name of it right now. The very jungle map. I like
Derelict?
yes, I like the flow of it, but there is just so much clutter. Like,
Yeah, that's
I
what I'm
can't
talking about with
see
Omni movement.
anything. I can't
Yeah.
see. And I don't know if it's just me getting older, but like I just see people all the time tweet a map. I just saw it on my timeline 5 seconds ago. It was Arsenal from Black Ops 4. And they're like, can we bring back like where there's just no clutter? It's like you see the enemy and that's it. And there's like a little bit of stuff in between, but it's like walls. It's not tree, grass, mush. Like, there's just too much to look at. And that's why I think
Lot
I
of visual
liked,
noise on that one.
I keep saying crud. What the heck is the name of the map called?
Scud. I mean, maybe. Yeah.
Um,
Scud.
Scud. I just think Scud is very visually easy to look at. Like,
Okay.
not from a saturation standpoint, but from like visually,
Just the actual level.
I see you,
cleanliness.
you see me. And
Okay.
I feel like in the grassy map, I can't see anything.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, I get that. I think I don't know if I don't know where I fall on this. Like, I actually know what you're talking about with Arsenal on BO4. I don't like that map because I think it's almost too sterile. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's almost too cut and dry for me.
Right,
Like, I
right.
think there's a healthy medium somewhere, and that's I think the greatest maps of all time strike that, whether they realize it or not. I'm not advocating for just like very like too sterile cut and dry maps like Arsenal, but I'm also not advocating for like Stonehaven. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Um, like, I think my favorite map right now is Rewind,
um,
the VCR store. I think that's probably the best one as far as flow, in my opinion. That works well on most game modes. I like that one.
mhm.
Um, that's been good, but yeah, I feel like well, Skyline's good too.
Skyline's
Um,
great. I think Skyline's great. I think that's the right the temperature of having some stuff in the map to give it like a unique feeling, but it's not like where it mucks up your view. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? And then
It- mhm.
with Rewind, I like Rewind as well. I feel like one of the sides is kind of dull. The right side, I guess it would be, where there's like a burger shack. I feel like that's
Yeah.
a very open lane where the other side can kind of dominate. And then I feel like the map goes too far back. It's like
Oh, like the polar ends are a little.
I
Yeah,
feel
I
like it
understand.
should bring just a hair, not much, but just a little bit. I feel like that's a map where that's probably one of their bigger maps in this game because I know they said that they were focusing on smaller maps in this. So that's got to be like their medium sized one, I would assume, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, that's fair though. Like, yeah, I think I get that. I bet you those like backed up polar spawns are for like spawn protection, and everything, because I feel like it'd be very easy to spawn trap things on the map
Yeah,
depending on
yeah.
the game mode. But yeah, overall, I think the maps are good. I've enjoyed the beta. I know it's gonna get like tweaked a little bit, especially when like the beta goes open to everybody. One thing I do want to ask you about, something we played at COD Next. We can maybe go back to multiplayer in a bit, but I want to ask you about zombies,
Yeah.
because it's gotten pretty crazy. The response to everything and how the discourse has evolved. I've been, participating in this a lot. I've got my own. I've played both maps at this point. I've got my own thoughts and feelings on both of them. You've played Liberty Falls, right? You haven't played
Yes.
Terminus.
I did not play
I would
Terminus.
love to know what you think about Liberty Falls.
I enjoyed it. I mean, my review that I did on my channel, I thought it was fun. I think there's three things that I think the community that I have personally, and I think the community has too, that I think that they're right. One, I think the UI needs a change. I think it's too much like Warzone. please you can go back to the dawn of time of zombies. It looked different than all the other modes because it had a sinister feel almost to the UI. Uniqueness. And again, I know this game's not done, and I think a UI change could happen. And if there's a dev team that's going to do it, I do think it's Treyarch. Like they might go, hey guys, at launch we can't do it, but we're going to have a 1 month update. Season 1 UI is going to get a complete overhaul. Because I don't think it's going to happen day one. I think what we see is what we're going to get. I know you can turn it a bunch off, but I'm not a big fan of that. Number 2, I'm just
sorry. Before you continue, I just want to dig on that for a second.
Please.
By war zonification of the HUD, I assume I know what you mean, but I just want to double check. Do you mean
plates?
For me, it's like the name cards and the
bottom left.
Or the bottom left.
Left.
The mini map is weird, although I thought it was kind of weird in Cold War, but I've gotten a bit used to it at this point. I don't mind it so much. A lot of people hate like the points on screen when you're killing zombies. Again, I don't really mind that as much either. But the bottom left, I completely agree. Yes. It looks way too Warzone-y. And even I don't know if you got in the Mangler suit at all, but getting in the Mangler changes that HUD. Like it makes your health bar this big like purple thing. It just looks a lot more zombies. So like that's what the default HUD should be. Yeah. So I'm hoping they have seen that and they're like, let's just do that. It makes way more sense. I think you could even make armor look different and make it feel more zombies for the mode. Because I hate the bottom left. I completely agree. I think that takes you right out of the zombie experience if looked at too closely.
I totally agree. I think that. But I think that's not a hard fix. That's why I'm like,
no,
I don't think
should be an easy one. I would think
we weren't actually looking at the gameplay. That's the good thing is we're complaining about stuff that I think can be fixed. You know, it's not like, wow, this game looks like trash. It's like, oh, well, we just need to change the UI. And I think for me too, and somebody suggested this in one of my comments. I said I missed the starter pistol, man. I do not like starting with an XM4. I felt like the part of zombies and the boarding is the second thing I was going to say, boarding the windows.
Yeah.
To me, zombies always was like the urgency was, okay, crap. I got a pistol. I got to take out these zombies. I got to board the windows. I got to get a gun. I got to unlock this door. It was just that loop. It was that pace of like, okay, this is not just like, okay, I have an XM4. I'm prepared. I used the XM4 when we were playing until like level 15. I pack-a-punched it. Like that was what you
never have to ditch your starting gun.
No, and I think that I get what they're doing with the starter. Like they want the new people to get in and get accustomed to it. But you know, I said in my review, can we do like an Advanced Warfare thing where Advanced Warfare had a mode in multiplayer where there was no jetpacks and then there was jetpacks? Is it too much to be like, hey, here's a classic zombies mode, pistol only. Start with a pistol. And then here's your modern day zombies. Here's your loadout.
Isn't that what the leaks have been talking about? There's like a classic mode for zombies. I don't know if you've seen that.
I didn't know, actually.
Some people dug through the files and found like the directed mode, standard mode, and then something like classic mode.
Oh, okay.
But as far as we know, like I've never heard anything about that. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I'm just gonna let y'all know as far as like anything that I've heard or seen, I don't know anything about a classic mode. I would, if that's true, I would assume it's just like, yeah, you start with the pistol. But also, the thing is, it wouldn't be classic mode like you got a pistol and you board up windows because they literally don't even have those mechanics in the game.
Yeah.
Like, Carpenter doesn't exist anymore.
Right. I don't think the boarding is an option anymore. A pistol, I think, is an option.
Sure. And people always go, but you can start with a pistol. But it's like,
not the same vibe.
That's not the point. It's not the point. Yeah. You can choose to start with a pistol, but it's the whole point of the like, anxiety-inducing gameplay loop of choosing between to board up the windows or go get a gun or doing all of those things at the same time. That was always like the appeal in some ways of old zombies. One of the things I want to ask you about is, do you feel like Liberty Falls was too easy?
I think part of that I guess I'm going to say yeah, but because I think that's part of it is starting with an XM4. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I feel like I'm decent at COD. Give me an XM4 and I work around the map a little bit. I got Omni movement. I mean, I was kind of just cooking. And honestly, the reason I stopped was because we went to Warzone in COD Next. I just died. I'm like, all right, well, because I think we were at like level 15 or something, because we were in the same game, folks at
And I
home.
think I think we were farther than that actually. I think we were
Maybe
like in the
20.
20s. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I went down one time.
I bring this up because like I between Terminus and Liberty Falls, like a lot of people have been wanting to know about like difficulty wise, how is it? And again, I'm maybe not I don't know if I represent the average player because I play zombies a lot more than the average player. I would like to think I'm pretty good at zombies, but I do think the game was pretty easy. Um on Terminus was a little harder, but the like 30-second gameplay loop, I haven't gotten into like high rounds yet, like anything like 60 plus or whatever.
Yeah.
So I can't really judge that yet, but everything like up to like 40 or 50, in my opinion, seems easy enough. And it never really, and maybe it's a result of Omni movement, I don't know, but I never felt too pressured in any way.
How
Like the
how high did you get on your gameplay where you just uploaded it right away?
I think on that run I got to 38. I didn't upload the full
Sheesh.
thing to 38, but that was before we had to like start.
Yeah,
I could have kept going. That
bro
when we had
was
to start the
grinding
event.
befon we were even starting, guys. I was trying, but I got yelled
I
at.
wanted
Chopper
to,
just kept
yeah.
cruising.
I just paused the game. I mean, anyways, I almost got to 40, and just because I wanted to see like what high rounds would feel like. Um, and I think for the average player, they will be difficult enough, but it almost makes me think that it's going to be just as easy, if not easier than Cold War. The other thing to consider is we had no augments
Yeah.
on our perks, and the game has not been power crept yet. Like we haven't had all of the perks they're going to add throughout the season, or any of the augments that we can change to like buff our perks and whatnot. So I'm playing the most like vanilla basic version of it, and I still felt like the difficulty was a little on the low end. Which I'm just bringing this up now because if anyone at Treyarch is listening to this, maybe I don't know how you would go about turning up the heat in the right way. Terminus, I think, is in a good spot. That felt right. But maybe Liberty Falls isn't meant to be the hardest map ever. Like, I think it's truly meant to be their like town equivalent, where you're gonna load up, you're gonna kill zombies. Like, it's
Yeah.
gonna have an
Yeah.
Easter egg, it's gonna have a main quest, all that. But I have been very surprised to see the ultimately massively negative reaction to Liberty Falls because it's been pretty negative. Even though the reception to Terminus was pretty positive, I think the thing that people are most upset about is not really the gameplay loop. It's more the fact that it doesn't feel zombies,
Yeah.
and to some degree, I can empathize with that. Like
Yeah,
I
I think getting the gun off the rip is really what makes the top thing for me. Where I'm like,
yeah,
this doesn't
even
feel like zombies.
Mhm. And even little things like the laser doors for like barriers instead of like typical debris. I don't know what's going. I don't know what these laser doors are doing. Like I don't know. There are,
Yeah,
and
it
I
doesn't
don't think
feel
the
like
solution.
urgent because it's a laser door. It's not like, oh, you can see what's on the other side of the door, you
Yeah,
know?
that's a good point. That's a good point. You can actually see what's on the other side of that door.
Right. It's like, oh, okay, that's the
I didn't
start
think about
area.
that.
You know, I think the one
Yeah.
door that I kept thinking about, we were going back, the room where it was all purple, the church. And
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
turned around and there was that one that went down the steps that we unlocked late and it went into like the bowling alley.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that door, I was like, oh, where's this gonna go? And then I could just glance through the blue
And you
and I'm
can
like,
just see.
oh, okay, it's
Man,
down there at the start of the thing. And that's like, oh, all right,
that's a
well,
really good point. I didn't think about that. Hey, you can just see right through it.
yeah, it
And
doesn't, there's no like, again, that's what I loved about
there's no
zombies was
risk
everything
reward.
was like, you didn't
Risk
know.
reward a little bit. Like, do I spend the 2,000 points on this door if it's not going to get me anywhere I want to be?
Yes,
You know,
yes,
it's kind of a
yes,
gamble, and
yes.
that's gone. That's a really good point.
Yep.
Terminus didn't have those lasers. Like that was more just regular doors, which is good. But yeah, I do get what people are saying where it doesn't really it's like zombies with no aura in some ways. Like I kind of get that, and I don't think the solution is just putting a a smoke filter in the sky or whatever, like or
Yeah,
putting a
yeah,
dark ether thing in the sky. There's a lot more things that go into atmosphere than just what the skybox looks like, but um that's not really something I think they can change before launch. The HUD is the one thing I hope they do,
yeah,
because
yeah,
that's a piece that is moldable, and that would go a long way in making it feel like zombies. Like I
yeah,
even tweeted, I'm like when somebody's down, like the revive icon, I'm like, make that either like the Black Ops 1
Dude,
classic
I
where it's
didn't
like that
even know you
yellow
were
logo.
down.
Yeah, yeah, I
Chopper
remember.
looks over to me, taps me on the shoulder, he says, "Hey man, I need a res." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, my bad."
It's kind of hard to see, and like it's not super obvious. Either that or like the BO3 and 4 one where it's like the skull and he
Yeah,
kind of like
it's
winds down.
Warzone. It's a Warzone icon. That's what
The
Warzone Revive
Warzone,
looks like.
yeah, yeah.
If you think about
Um,
it, that's exactly the circle, the heart medic thing, and then you go. Even you res them the same way.
yeah, we can't have the little syringe where you pull the thing. I'm like,
No,
just
it's
bring
like
that
you
enemy.
stick like a a medic pack, and it's like I don't know. I think they've borrowed assets from Warzone, and I think that loses the mystique of zombies a little bit when you borrow from Warzone, especially now when Warzone to me is as stale as it's ever been.
Well, they told us that too with armor. I was talking to like them about armor, and I was like, "Hey, I noticed that we manually plate in zombies. Like you got to manually put your thing in for
Yeah,
armor.
yeah,
When in Cold War, all you had to do was run over the armor plate and it would apply."
yeah,
And basically, they were like, "Yeah, we just kind of didn't really know what we were doing with armor in Cold War, and then we had to like look to what Warzone was doing, and they were manually plating. So then they decided to follow. They literally decided to follow Warzone in that way to figure out what to do with armor. But
yeah.
I'm like." Fair enough, but is that the best choice for zombies? I don't know. Maybe. Uh
I
I
don't think
I think
armor should be in it. I don't. It just doesn't feel like zombies to me. Like I'm
in a
plating.
lot of yeah, like armor has become what Juggernog used to be. Like Juggernog isn't really as valuable anymore. Armor has more or less replaced
Right,
the
right.
function of Jug.
I didn't even think about that. Why get Juggernaut? You got a plate.
Man, when I was playing at the event, Juggernog was one of the last perks I got because I didn't
Yeah.
need it. I first invested into Deadshot because I wanted to be dealing more damage. Like,
I wanted to
who
do the
needs
new one.
Juggernog?
I wanted to do the
Oh, the melee macchiato.
yeah, that was pretty cool
Yeah,
actually.
it is sick. It is sick. That is a cool new addition. But also, that's the other thing is they've removed perks as well. That it's just like Jug no longer feels like buying Jug because you don't really need it as much. Armor kind of does that. You don't have like stuff like Widow's Wine or and God forbid I bring up double tap. Everybody loves double tap, which I do too. But the thing I keep trying to tell people is double tap literally does not work with the weapon rarity system. If we want double tap back, they have to completely
Yeah.
redo the weapon
Yep,
system.
you told me that.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's like you either get double tap or we lose weapon rarities in this entire system, which I'm not advocating for one or the other. I'm just saying like that'd be a big overhaul they'd have to do. They can't
Yeah.
they can't
You're
just
right.
add double tap. It would break the game. But yeah, I having played it, I'm gonna stand on this. I find the gameplay extraordinarily addicting and fun.
Yeah.
I think it's super fun. All I wanted to do after playing Terminus and Liberty Falls was just play another game. I was just fiending to get back in. Like
That's how I feel with multiplayer. Dude, I
Mhm.
played the beta for 8 hours the other day. I
Love that.
cannot tell you the last time I've sat down and played Call of Duty for 8 hours. I can't. It's probably been since Modern Warfare 2019.
I think it's because we have
Warzone.
to relearn something.
Yeah, it's learning. I'm learning. It's a brand new. It feels brand new to me for the first time in a long time.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's a big part of it is we have to learn something again. So you kind of want to like, if that's what gets you going, then the learning process is going to keep you hooked on the game, and you'll probably be on it for a while. Then I totally feel that. This is probably the most I've played a beta. I didn't really play MW's3 beta that much, a little bit, but I played this a lot more already.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, likewise, if I could be playing zombies right now, you already know I would be.
I know you
But
would. I know you would.
it's I think they've got it right as far as like core gameplay goes.
Yeah,
Just big picture core gameplay in both MP and zombies. I'm a big fan of. Now, I don't love everything about like choices they make in zombies or even MP. Uh, but I think all in all, it's trending in a good direction. Like for example, multiplayer. This might sound nitpicky, but I feel like they were so close to getting the attachment system right.
I know.
Like,
I know.
man, you were so close. Just do away with like cons on your attachments.
Well, they did do that.
Almost, not totally. That's what I mean. Is like
I thought
there
that
are
they got
still
rid of all the cons. Like, so if you put
no,
on a new attachment, you don't lose anything. Like, you always gain. I thought they said that in the COD Next briefing.
most of the time.
Okay.
There's some attachments where you lose something. Uh, but that's what I mean. Like they were so close to having it. There's still like a few attachments where like, oh, I lose ADS speed or whatever. It's like,
Okay. I didn't see that, but maybe I have to do a little bit more because I
there
was
should be
going to
some
have
on the
that on
beta
my
you can get
positive.
your-
I was going to have that
Mhm.
as my positive.
I think it's a positive for me insofar as like that's the right direction, I think. But
Yeah.
they almost got there. Like there's just a couple attachments that still have cons. At that point, if they're so minimal, just get rid of them. Like I think by the time the next Treyarch game comes around, we'll probably be done away with that attachment con system.
Yeah.
But all in all, I think it's a positive for me at least. What do you think about like the game's kill streaks?
I feel like they're extremely hard to get. I don't know if that's
Yes.
because obviously, what am I saying here? Like they're obviously
sweaty.
the lobbies are super sweaty, so it's tough to get them in general. But I feel like a UAV is like 750 or something. What happened to UAV being 3 kills back in the day? Like it was
Yeah.
3
That's your
kills when you think about it.
Brother, that's your scout pulse now. Even then, it's more than 3. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's 450.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Yeah, I think the streaks are solid. I got the chopper a couple times. I've got the missile a couple times. The missile's new now. It's like boom, 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 final. Like it's like 4 shots rather than like a scattered thing and then you zone in on it. Have you gotten it yet?
Yeah.
So it's like you can shoot 3 missiles and then you have the final missile that you're guiding. So you have potential to get like 4 kills. So I think that's pretty good. The chopper for me did well a couple times, obviously on Scud and stuff like that, not on.
Yeah.
Man, that's what another thing too. Am I crazy when I feel like the chopper gunner like BO1? Were there just more open maps or something? Because I feel like you could get that chopper gunner and just dominate. Like I can't
On
think of many
BO1?
weapon or I can't think of many maps that like maybe Villa, where the inside houses of Villa. Maybe Launch, where you had the building on the left
WMD.
side. WMD was kind of inside, but that's really a lot of them were outside. And even if it was like a firing range where you could sit inside, that chopper gunner went through, which I think that would be cool if the chopper gunner could like go through wall. Like you tell me a chopper gunner shoots through a house wall, it's not going to tear that wall down. So
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
make streaks great again. Make them mean something when you get them.
I feel like they did though, in a way. Like I feel like they have done that. You know, because they've raised the bar so high on getting streaks. They're a lot more difficult to get now. It, at least to me, I don't know how other people feel this way. It almost makes getting kill streaks like exhilarating again.
Yeah.
Like because they're so difficult to get now. I'm not saying that the balancing is perfectly correct or anything, but I don't know, like getting a chopper gun or getting like an attack heal or something kind of feels like fire because it's kind of hard to get. And again, I don't know if that's just because the beta is sweaty and most people are going.
I think that's a little bit of it.
A flat 1 KD, but like streaks feel cool again.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the streaks and I think they're a little high. I think maybe 100 for each. And I know people are gonna go, well, you got to use the perk that makes it 100 less. No, that. I get the same thing with your zombies argument. It's like, no, that's not the starter pistol's not, you know what I'm saying? Like just because we want that change doesn't mean, you know, I can't describe what I'm saying.
Use this perk. I know, and people do that all the time. Like even like it just made me think of like a Dark Souls. In Dark Souls 2, this is a really hard shift, but I'm gonna get back to what we were on topic about. But in Dark Souls 2, if you die, you come back with less health. Every time you die, you have less and less, which I think is the stupidest mechanic ever. Because you're trying to learn the game, you keep trying to boss, you keep dying, your health consistently gets chunked away. There's a ring in the game that you can wear that prevents that HP loss. It stops at a certain point.
Yeah.
And my argument, I was like, this HP loss is a dumb mechanic. They should cap out like somewhere where like the ring does anyways. Get rid of the ring. Just make that the mechanic. Do away with the ring. We don't need that. Just make it stop there.
Right.
Like problem solved. Like
I totally agree.
And that's what I'm illustrating is like people go, oh, just use the perk that makes it 100 less. That's not the point.
No, make the perk that makes it 100 less plus the 100 less that you're gonna make to the update.
Yeah.
and then it costs 350 for a UAV again, or 450.
Yeah.
That would make the perk worth it more to use, I think. But yeah,
I
I
see what you're
think
saying. I think the
I
multiplayer's in a good spot overall.
yeah, no, overall, in my review, I gave it a 9 out of 10. I really did. And I meant that. SBMM's going to have your problems, and maps
Sure.
are maybe, we got 12, 14 new maps. So, like, we're actually getting all new maps, which is crazy to me, too, when you think about it.
Fresh maps, fresh movement, fresh
maps.
guns. Well, this is what we've been wanting, is like,
Yes.
give me something new to learn.
And I think you see that in the reception of YouTube, of my Instagram, of your tweets. Like, there is hype behind the game for what feels like the first time in, my gosh, probably since Cold War, honestly. Or maybe MW2, but MW2 turned sour very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, MW2 to me was like Black Ops 4, where like insane mountainous levels of hype, only to be
absolutely
immediately crash down. Yeah. The other thing is, like, I do think part of the COD cycle is giving somebody a reason to complain about something. But if Black Ops 6 comes out and we really don't have much to complain about, I wonder what's going to happen.
Well, that's what I feel like. I feel like there's not, like, this year, I'm not really complaining about that much. And also, I feel like
if we're complaining about the HUD in Liberty Falls,
we're doing good. If we're complaining about streak length, how many points does it take to get to that? I'd rather be complaining about that than, hey, these maps are terrible. This gameplay feels clunky. That stuff takes 6 months to change, or even a year, like we saw with MW3. So,
one thing I want to ask you while we're on the topic is, if the game can launch and it maintains this level of like integrity that the game's had so far, what do you realistically expect or want for post-launch support?
Just constant updates would be fantastic. I think the way MW,
by constant updates, do you mean like what MW3 did?
Exactly. Copy MW3. If we can get this game with MW3 type support, this could be an all-time game for me. I'm not even trolling. I think this thing has got crazy potential, and everybody always says, the sad part is when you say you actually enjoy a Call of Duty, you're glazing COD, and it's like,
you're
no,
glazing,
man. If you've been watching this podcast, you've been watching my videos, I literally stopped playing COD during MW2 because of how bad it was. I've ripped it a new one every time I can. MW3, I've given its flowers when it comes to content, but game mechanic wise, it's an old game. Vanguard, we've all ripped. Cold War, I didn't really play it that much. I was playing Warzone. I've had 5 years of me going, can we get a good COD to play or what? So for me to finally leave an event in a beta with like, wow, it's like the most refreshing thing I've ever seen. Like, I'm enjoying it. The devs are DMing me and tweeting me. I'm like, what? I feel like I'm on a different planet. Like, this doesn't make sense as a COD guy. It's usually the opposite. Yelling, screaming, complaining, nobody answering on the other end. It's like, wow, this is actually good.
I feel like, in a way, and I made this point in my video, the zombies video I posted, I said, we'll come back and see if it ages well, but I think by the end of its life cycle, Black Ops 6 will be the superior game to Cold War Zombies. And the crazy thing is, like, Cold War only launched with D Machine. That was the only map that launched with. And then DLC 1 was Firebase Z, and I think that came out like February.
Yeah.
We are getting DLC 1 for Black Ops 6 Zombies before 2024 even ends.
Yeah.
So not only do we have Terminus on launch, which you could say is equivalent to D Machine, we also have Liberty Falls, which, call it a bonus map or not, doesn't really matter. We're getting DLC 1 before the end of the year.
Yep.
We're going to have 3 Zombies maps before 2024 is over. That's huge. As far as I'm concerned, that's huge.
Yeah, that's big time, because I really want to play the first one. The one that you played at Treyarch. I think that's going to be the one that kind of shuts up the doubters, and like, it's going to be, oh, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was not a big fan of 5. I know some people are, but if we would have played 5 back in the day instead of Transit, I would have been like, or wait, no, 5 was Black Ops 1, right?
Yeah.
So instead of Knocked, right? It's Knocked.
Noctis on World at War and BO1.
Where
I mean,
what
it
is
was on
BO1?
BO1.
What is the first
Kino?
map called? Kino, yeah.
Kino Dertone?
If we would have played 5 instead of Kino, I would have been like, "Ooh, okay, you know." But Kino was amazing. So I think that's what we could be seeing here. Like, there's going to be your people that like Liberty Falls, but I think for the majority, people are going to be playing the first map.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what they've claimed too. Is like Terminus is like the deep map that is going to be packed with their more curated content. I mean, they told us at Treyarch that like Terminus has more side Easter eggs than like Shadows of Evil.
Yeah,
Shadows of Evil is my favorite map ever. I'm not saying Terminus is going to be better than Shadows of Evil. That's not the logic I'm drawing here, but it's going to have as much to do in it, hopefully, as Shadows of Evil does. Which to me is exciting. I'm looking forward to like hunting Easter eggs on that and you know discovering things. That'll be very fun. And having a third map before the end of 2024 is huge. I really hope that this doesn't pull an MW3 where
disappears after the first 3.
Amazing first season, and we're like, okay, if this is the precedent we're setting, we're good. Like, this is gonna be an amazing year. Season 1 comes out great. Season 2, you missed a little bit. Season 3, they said bye-bye. Like,
they said bye-bye, bye-bye. Like, they ain't coming back.
I just hope they don't ditch the game like midway through the season, and I get setting a precedent of a third map before the year ends is pretty big, but I just hope they can keep up that pace and deliver quality things. Like, man, even we talked about it on a previous podcast, but Modern Warfare Zombies had a very good ending.
Yeah.
As far as that's concerned.
I mean, you're a fan of it at the end.
Yeah, it was a good like update, and the last story mission they had or whatever, like all that content, the boss fight, it was really good stuff.
Yeah.
And that was on a mode that's like, in a lot of people's eyes, not really zombies. So I'm just looking at that and I'm like, imagine what they can do on their like their main course of a mode. That's what's got me hyped. Like, I know why a lot of people are writing off the game right now when it comes to zombies, but I truly think you should wait a little longer and maybe see how both maps shake out and maybe play it for yourself. Give Terminus a try. And I'm not gonna tell you Liberty Falls is the best map ever. I want to wait till that comes out. I want to beat the Easter egg. I want to do all that. But Terminus to me felt like I can see the potential of this game.
Yeah.
And all I can say is I'm gonna be playing the hell out of zombies this year. Like, I feel like I'm like back for that.
Dude, I feel like I'm back too. Same vibe. Just everything feels. I'm waking up wanting to do content again. I'm waking up like checking the news again, checking updates. Like, yeah, man, it feels great. It feels so good.
Mm-hmm. What would you say we don't have to get too much into Warzone.
Yeah, let's talk about Warzone for like 5 minutes.
I have almost nothing to say about Warzone, so if you're looking for a big essay from me guys, I don't have that much to say, honestly, but I'm more curious to hear you as somebody who, love Warzone from the beginning to now. What do you think?
Oh, sorry. I stumbled. I fell asleep. Here's the thing. Here's the thing with Warzone. I said it in my review, and I'm going to say it on this podcast. If you didn't watch my review yet, please do. Same thing with Chopper. Chopper put out a review for Zombies, so watch his as well. It's time to break. I've said this on multiple podcasts. It's time to break away from Warzone. Let's make Warzone its own entity, please. Call of Duty is campaign, multiplayer, zombies. That's the experience. Warzone is over here. It's Call of Duty. We're in the same universe, but it's over here. It gets its own updates. It has its own dev. It has its own mechanics. It has everything over there that wants to be. Because I think them bringing this movement to Warzone, it felt terrible to me. And I even said that. I said, I gave Warzone a 4 out of 10 in my review. I probably could have gone worse. But I wanted to get invited back. No, just kidding, guys. Just kidding. So I just think I could go on. Let me just give you my top like 3 or 4 things. Number 1, floating loot. When I look at the jumbled mess of crap on the ground, they're trying to make this game for casuals. This game is nothing for casuals. You look at the ground and you see a bunch of mumbo jumbo perks, plates, ammo, guns, different color guns now. Like, it's so confusing to me, and it's not. Go back and watch an MW19 Warzone stream. You were able to get your stuff, get your loot, and you were gone in 3 seconds, 2 seconds maybe. In this, I'm like, all right, pick up the plate, pick up the gun, what
Like
perk is
comparing
this?
gun stats,
What gun
comparing
is
perks.
this? Yeah, what gun over here?
To some degree, maybe that's like unfamiliarity with the game because it's brand new. But
But
even so,
again,
I
we're
see your
year
point.
3, we're year 4, or what are we? Year 5 into Warzone. We're
Yeah.
year 3 into like this new generation, or year 2.5, and the new generation has just been a fail in my opinion. Like they
What do
have
you mean by
completely
that?
failed.
By new generation?
So like Warzone 2 was the new complete overhaul, the way that the people
Okay, so
ran, the people
everything since
walked,
original
the
Warzone.
yeah, like stuff on like shelves and stuff to pick up.
Okay.
It just hasn't, it's been a failure in my opinion. And I think honestly for me, they should just keep the Warzone how it is now. The MW3 movement, a lot of people like. It's in a good spot. I think most people would agree that Warzone is in a good spot. Like if they can bring the quality of life to that game and a new map, and Verdansk back, I think people that I think switching this to this Omni movement is going to be tough in Warzone. I don't think it didn't flow like I thought it would. Multiplayer, you feel like you're floating, and it's just so beautiful, and the movement's great. And Warzone, I just felt like it was very, almost like it was trying to be like a PUBG, like that slow. I feel like it was that slow, and
Even with the smaller map.
even with the smaller map, it just felt like it was not a enjoy. And I don't want to act like like I said this in my review. I don't want to crap on like I don't want people to think I'm just crapping on Warzone. Dude, I mained Warzone for 3.5 years. Like I loved Warzone. And I think they've just, it's kind of like how the last couple multiplayers have been. Like they just haven't been good. And so I'm not just going to sit there and play them when I don't think they're good.
Mhm.
And so I'm not going to play Warzone when I don't think it's a good product. And that's kind of a rant. I only kind of covered like 2 things, but wait and see. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with this Warzone. I know they're like a couple months away from implementing it. I will be very, very anxious to see, will people be happy when they get it? Or will they have the same
Omni
feeling
movement.
of, not even Omni movement, just the way the game
Just
feels.
Warzone. Yeah.
Just the way the game feels compared to how it feels now. It feels totally different than it does in MW3.
I feel like I think it's kind of a problem to have Warzone so attached to Call of Duty because, like, we always advocate for Warzone doing its own thing, which they should. And that would allow them to do what they need to do with the movement for the context of Warzone. Because it feels like they have to remake Warzone in to be incompatible, or like not
That's exactly
incompatible,
what I said.
but to be compatible with
Yes.
the main Call of Duty title,
Yep.
when
Yep.
maybe that's not the right move for
It's
Warzone.
not. It's not.
You know, like, and yeah, that's fair enough. Like maybe Omni movement is a lot more suited to multiplayer, and maybe it works in zombies, but maybe it's not the best choice for Warzone. But it's like, hey, they really have no other choice because it's supposed to be this whole broad experience. They want to have the same movement across the board, but maybe that's not the healthy choice for Warzone. Maybe that's not even the healthy choice for zombies. I don't know, but uh, as far as like separating Warzone that way, to me that's best of both worlds. Warzone would get to do what it needs to do for itself,
Yeah.
and the Call of Duty premium title could do what it needed to do for its respective pillars. Like that just makes sense to me.
And
I
Raven
really don't have any
Software's,
input for Warzone other than that. Is like I think it's a mistake for Warzone to be at the whim of the main game, and for the main game to also be at the whim of Warzone.
yeah.
Case in point, Zombies HUD. You know,
Yeah, it's like they try to make Warzone like it's like the end all be all in the game now. It's like everything filters from that when it used to filter from multiplayer. Or it
it feels
honestly
like
kind of
every
filtered from campaign if you think about it.
yeah, it feels like yeah, okay, so you could think about them as like almost like planets in a way. And for a long time, the sun was campaign. Everything
Yes.
revolved around campaign.
Yes.
That was the foundation of the game, from the theme to the weapons, even the maps. Like World at War, best example. Everything revolved around the campaign. Now we've gotten to the point. I don't know. I think that shift took place in between Black Ops 4 and Modern Warfare 2019, where what the thing became revolved around was no longer campaign. Because in BO4, we didn't have a campaign.
Yeah,
So what
right.
did it revolve around? I don't really know. Like
That
it
was
didn't
all
have
over
like
the place.
it was all over the place, and it did not have any like center of gravity. And after that point, especially after Modern Warfare, everything now revolves around Warzone.
Yes.
And I think that's had some interesting effects on the game all around. I really don't have any input for this year's Warzone because I don't have anything to say about it.
Yeah.
I just hope that the fact that it revolves around Warzone doesn't affect the part of the game that I like most, which is zombies, which it clearly has, because the HUD and the armor and all that stuff is like that's directly influenced from Warzone.
Yes.
And I I would hate to see zombies lose itself in what Warzone is doing.
I totally agree. I've been wanting to have this thing break away since Warzone 2. I think Warzone 2 really made it like, okay, we should break away because it made everything try to be the same.
Yeah. And I can understand their goal with it because like just to play the other side for a moment, if you imagine you're like you are like a Call of Duty dev or an Activision higher up or something like that. You put yourself in that headspace for a moment. Ideally, what you'd want to do, not even just for interest of your own profit, which maybe that's part of it, but also because, if this is a game you're making, just I don't know, as a creator, maybe you can understand this mindset. I think I would want everybody to be enjoying the game equally. Or
Yeah.
or like I would want everybody to feel like uh they can play and engage with any mode that they want to play. Like I guess I can understand this perspective of I wouldn't want people to feel gatekeeped by zombies because it's too different to Warzone.
Yeah.
But at the
Yeah.
same time, like this is, I don't know if like Miyazaki who makes Dark Souls, he may have said this in an interview once, but it's got me thinking about like their whole goal with BO6 is like accessibility, and I get that, but if you make a game for everyone, you make a game for no one.
Yeah.
And I
That's
think
the
that's
great line.
and I just think that's so that resonates with me a lot when it comes to BO6 zombies is like I understand accessibility. I think all that's great, but at the end of the day, you got to make a game for someone.
Yeah.
And I don't know who exactly they're making the game for. Is it Warzone players? I don't know. Is it zombie players? I'm not sure. It's kind of it's somewhere in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Um that's my only thing is like you make a game for everyone, you end up making a game for no one. You got to like you got to put your you got to like draw a line in the sand somewhere.
I totally agree. I think Warzone just needs to be its own thing. I think that would just settle a lot of arguments and a lot of issues that we have. You wouldn't have the plates. There wouldn't be a revive that's looking like Warzone. Multiplayer wouldn't have to like worry about, what game was it that? I mean, even the Warzone map in general, it's usually like
Don't like and
maps.
correct
It's
me if
like
I'm
it's
wrong on this.
multiplayer maps.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong on this and also the comments, but wasn't it like Cold War or Vanguard or something? I think it was Vanguard. Like weapon changes that get made for the sake of Warzone ended up also affecting multiplayer. If I'm correct on that, like there
Usually
would be
they split
times,
them up. Usually they split
yeah.
them up.
hmm Has that
Um,
always been the case? I feel like there are times when like changes got made in Warzone that had inverse effects in multiplayer, and maybe that was when they didn't really weren't as good at separating the two. But maybe I'm misremembering that.
that's
I
a
thought that
good
happened during like
question.
Cold War or Vanguard or something. I don't know. Y'all can let me know in the comments, but
Yeah,
that's kind of the separation that we need because if the changes they're making are bleeding into other modes, we got a problem.
I I totally agree.
So
Um,
what would you
what would I do
what would you recommend overall
for
about Black Ops
Warzone?
6 to no
Oh,
just
overall,
in general like
um, I said this. I'll say it again. If you're hesitant to think that we are all COD chills, I think most people either have an Xbox or a PC. Get Game Pass. I mean, the Game Pass was literally $1 for the last month. So
mhm.
get Game Pass, try the game out, just like an old school blockbuster. Play the beta. Do you like it? Do you not? I mean, I think it's pretty cut and dry nowadays. Like, if you don't want to play a game, I don't want to say leave, but like go play something else. You know, like when I didn't really enjoy COD for a little bit, I was playing Fortnite, and you know, then Warzone came out and it was kind of blew up, and then you know, the last 2 years I haven't really enjoyed COD, so I've been kind of playing like sports games and stuff like that. So I'm of course using my voice. I'm not like, because the franchise, I love this franchise, so I'll never quit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like if the game's not for you, don't sit here on posts and just be like, this game sucks. It's like, well, you obviously still care about it because you just keep saying the same thing over and over again. So try the game out, see if you like it on Game Pass. I think that's a fair thing. I do think most people that I've seen, including myself, including you, really do enjoy this game. And
Yeah, I hand over my heart, honestly.
no shill, no paycheck.
Like this is no shill shit, chat. Like I've had a very good time with this game in all aspects. Like again, it's not perfect. I've got my criticisms of MP, of zombies. I'm gonna criticize it probably forever. Eventually, I'm gonna make a review on Black Ops 6, and you know I'm gonna have my things that I dig at. But as far as like a game that you can spend your time playing, especially coming from a zombies perspective, I think we're in for a very enjoyable year. Especially if you thought what the standard of Cold War was good, then I think this is going to be better. And if that's the case, I would absolutely recommend the game.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to ask you, because I'm actually not sure, how does this work with Game Pass? Like I know if people have Pass, they can try the game. Do you just get the full game if you have Game Pass?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you have Game Pass Ultimate, I believe, which is maybe 15 or 20 bucks a month, that thing shows up right in your Game Pass library. You can just download it.
Okay.
And they have Game Pass on PC and Game Pass on Xbox. So like, if you're a PlayStation guy, I'd say buy it. You know, maybe trade in a couple games at GameStop and get it for 30, 40 bucks. But
yeah,
dude, I just think it's the first COD in a couple of years that's actually worth playing. I really do.
Yeah, like no shill. Like only speaking from a zombies perspective, I can't recommend it enough. If you like Cold War, or if you like that idea, I and for multiplayer, like maybe I'm not the best judge of what I can recommend on that, but I still would recommend it. I find it fun. I like the movement. I think it feels like Call of Duty to play. It's that arcadey kind of Treyarch cartoony feel.
Yeah.
And that's the style that really works for me. I would recommend all of that. One thing we didn't really talk about is campaign, but that'll be experience on day one.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
still trying to figure out. I'm probably just gonna like stream that and run it. Like to do the whole thing. If it's like a 6-hour one, I might try to do it in one play session.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we'll see though.
Probably a good idea.
But yeah, man, I think that's a pretty good. That's a good wrap. We hit an hour. We're back on the hour train. I think the last two were like 45 minutes because we were just trying to kind of get back into some sort of rhythm with our podcast. But now we have tons of content. We have another weekend of beta. We have changes, I'm sure, that Treyarch will come out and announce that they're doing. And this game is only a month and a half away, really. So
that's crazy.
It really is, because I love the October release date. Kind of gives me something to look forward to. And then you can kind of grind
it. It's about to get wild, man.
It's going to get wild. There's already a ton of content to do, and I'm just excited. I'm just excited to have a game to grind again.
Yeah, me too. And if y'all want to stay up to date with the whole year of Black Ops 6, like make sure y'all are subscribed here. We will be putting out podcasts consistently. We'll be covering Black Ops 6 as it develops completely. So this will be like your one stop for everything you need to know.
Well, Chop, I think that concludes episode 19. Quick plug as always. Make sure you follow us on Twitter if you want to see our random opinions and random tweets. Me, a little bit more trolling going on, but hey, it is what it is. And make sure you leave a review. Spotify, I just mentioned the Chop before we went on. 225 reviews.
That's wild.
Amazing. Y'all are really actually listening to me. Apple, listen, we got to talk, man. You guys got to get it together a little bit. Come on now. Let's leave those 5-star reviews. I get it. And then YouTube, YouTube's, we got 7,000 subscribers maybe. I think we hit a little bit over that.
Yeah, I think we're getting close to 10K.
Yeah, so the goal for that is 10K. So like Chop said, maybe make sure you hit that subscribe button if you find us randomly, if you make it till the end of this podcast. And we're gonna get back to our weekly grind. Especially after next week, we'll kind of maybe give our final beta thoughts. Maybe we'll just keep that one, something like that, for next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chop, anything else?
I just, all I can say is, like, I think it's going to get wild once the full game comes out. I mean, this is kind of the calm before the storm, but I I appreciate everybody, listening to this podcast if you've been here from the start, because I truly think that we've got something going here, and I think during the season of BO6, like, we're going to do some really cool things.
Yeah.
And I'm always excited to do these. These have been great. So I just want to personally thank everybody for continuing to listen to us yap about Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Means the world to me.
I love it. Thank you all for watching. That concludes this episode. We will see you next week. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday, maybe. I think the beta ends Monday or Tuesday. So maybe we'll give our thoughts Tuesday, Wednesday vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be back on a schedule soon. I promise. I promise. I promise.
I'm back from
no more traveling. Games about ready to get locked in. We are back. Don't worry. We are back.
Yes, sir.
All right, y'all. We will see you soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.